This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Scott Howell.
Hello, good neighbors, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast, brought to you by the Friends and Neighbors Group of the Greater Chattanooga area. Like the announcer said, my name is Scott Howell, and I'm your host for today. You know, a lot of people ask us, what is the purpose of the Good Neighbor Podcast? You know, our name isn't exactly self-explanatory, right? Well, tell you what we desire to do is to bring awareness to the residents living in our communities regarding the locally owned and or operated businesses in the Greater Chattanooga area. You know, the small local businesses, small and medium-sized local businesses both, are the backbone of our communities, and they need our support. Every local business has a story to tell, and our desire here is just to help them tell it loud and proud. And joining me today is one of those good neighbors, Shawnté Michaels, and over at the Better Bakery. Shawnté, it is our privilege to have you on the podcast with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we are glad to have you. And you know, we want to learn more about the Better Bakery and what it is you do. And you're probably going to make me hungry and all those good things. I didn't even know that your bakery was there, so I've got to come check you out. But before we jump into that, Shawnté, would you like to share anything with us maybe about yourself or your family?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Chattanooga. I've lived here my whole life. And my husband lives here with me now, but he's actually from Australia.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, we met in college. We were both on the ballroom dancing team, and we were partnered up, and the rest is history from there.
What about that? A chatty kid with a guy from down under.
Yep.
That's a story within itself, man. Well, that's amazing. Well, how long has he been here in the States with us?
He moved here in 2013 for college,
okay.
and
So
he's been here
a while now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, okay. So we want to know all about the Better Bakery. So I'm just going to stop right here. I'm going to shut up for a minute, and I'm going to let you tell us about the bakery and your journey. Tell us about how you came to be the owner of the Better Bakery.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Better Bakery has been around for about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
And it is a bakery that exists to provide healthier alternative pastries, particularly for people with dietary restrictions.
Okay.
And we are a completely dedicated vegan, gluten-free, soy-free, and dye-free bakery. And we're also largely organic. So we go organic wherever we can as well. And everything, it is specifically for people who have those restrictions, but also we exist for people who just enjoy pastries in general. I think that the taste and the texture are comparable, if not better, to regularly made pastries.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having a healthy pastry, is there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we believe healthy does not have to mean a compromise in taste, and tasty does not have to mean a compromise in health.
So tell us about your journey into how you decide to open a vegan, gluten-free bakery. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it all started when I went on a personal health journey. So my background is in biology and biochemistry. That's what I studied in college.
Okay.
And I worked in a few labs as a tech and as a scientist. And I've always loved the lab environment and just experimenting and making new things from scratch. And I started making my own pastries because I've always had a major sweet tooth, and I wanted something healthier than what I could find. And some friends around me who couldn't have gluten or couldn't have dairy, they were asking if I could make some stuff for them. And I loved it. I loved experimenting in the kitchen. It felt like I was back in the lab. And so that was just a goal that I set for myself. How can I achieve this taste and this flavor with these restrictions in mind? And I quickly began to realize that there's a big need for that, especially in Chattanooga, where there are several people who have those dietary restrictions and they weren't able to find, especially special occasion cakes. That's the main thing that we focus on. It's like wedding cakes, birthday cakes, anything from a small smash cake to a 16-layer wedding cake. people kept on saying over and over again, I obviously can't have a wedding cake because I can't have gluten, or I obviously can't have a birthday cake because I'm vegan. And I got tired of hearing that. And I was like, well, that needs to change.
That's awesome. So somebody, a lot of times people are gluten-free, not just because they don't eat gluten, because there's something that their body rejects it, and it
Right.
causes them a lot of issues. So,
Exactly.
and a vegan, I guess a vegan, so I'm not really sure. You can help me understand this better. Vegan maybe sometimes is a choice situation. There are dietary things that happen to cause people to go vegan, but a lot of times people just want to choose that lifestyle. Is that correct?
Right. So vegan could be a lifestyle choice. It could also be based on religious beliefs.
Okay.
A lot of the customers that I get are often allergic to eggs or dairy.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about the allergy part. Okay. They're
Yeah.
allergic. Yeah, because there's people that can't drink milk and things like
Right.
lactose intolerant, I think they call it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part of the vegan diet. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. But you know what's wonderful to know is they can still have their wedding cake or a birthday cake.
Exactly.
If you don't
Yep.
believe it, just go to see Shawnté because she's already put it under a microscope and she says you can eat it. So she's in the lab slash kitchen working it out for you, right?
Exactly.
So the recipes that you have, most of these you came up with on your own. Is that right?
Yep, every bit of it I came up with completely from scratch through many months of trial and error and mixing together different flours and different ingredients that adhere to those dietary restrictions. And it took quite a while because there was nothing. I looked online, there was really nothing online that could be found that adhere to those restrictions. So this is really kind of us pioneering that way.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. That's wonderful because I don't
Thank
I
you.
don't personally have those restrictions myself, but
Yeah.
uh, I do have some. I do
Yeah.
have. There are things. Yeah. I'm not a good patient. When it comes to things, I'm not a good patient. But it's good to know that there are options out there. That I
Yeah.
could still enjoy, and take care of myself.
Yeah.
A lot of people we talking about earlier before we logged on about going to the gym and working out and things like that.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just that I want to take better care of my body to make sure that I'm ingesting fuel that can be used and not just stuff that bogs me down. I hear that a
Right.
lot from people in the fitness industry. So
Right.
that's great to know. Uh, so
Exactly.
we talked about your journey and we talked about what you do. You might have kind of already answered this a little bit, but I want to ask you anyway, just in case there's something maybe that we didn't cover. What are some of the myths and misconceptions that sometimes you hear from people when they find out you're a bakery, but you are catering more to these special dietary plans, and they're just not sure if you're their bakery or not? What kind of things do you hear, Shawnté?
Right. Yeah. So I would say the biggest misconception would be that alternatively made pastries do not taste good and they do not have a good texture.
Okay.
So this is not completely founded in lies. I've definitely had some gluten-free and or vegan pastries, especially that are just not very good. But the great thing is, food innovation has come a long ways,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of options now, and they're getting to a point, and some things are even at a point where they're as good or even better than the typical ingredients that we've been used to for years.
Okay. Well, the gluten and uh, those things. I remember the first time I met someone who had gluten issues that they
Yeah,
could not eat it, and it caused them so much pain if they did. And this was a number of years ago, and it was difficult to
yeah,
find. They
mhm,
couldn't eat out, dine out at a restaurant hardly at all because nobody really catered to that. And
right.
so, yeah, as more and more they became to light, more and more people like yourself went to bat for them and said, "Hey,
Hmm.
let's produce." I know there's a diner there in downtown Chattanooga who they have that something for everyone, regardless of what your dietary issue is. We have something for everybody. So I think that's
Yeah,
amazing to know that there's people that are providing products for people out there that they can still enjoy eating.
Absolutely.
They don't have to sit around and drink everything eat everything through a straw, so to speak. Trying
Yeah.
to avoid the pain because they can't help it
Yeah.
they're in pain. They can't help they're
Yeah.
allergic. So and people
Right.
trying to prescribe to different religious values and things like that.
Mhm.
It's great that they have an opportunity to find what they need. So thank you, kudos to you, Shawnte.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
really
you.
interesting that you're a scientist in doing this. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. So wow, that's awesome that you can literally look at things on a technical degree that I wouldn't be able to view it at and still put something together. But like you said, because I've had some of those things before that were supposed to be healthy options,
Yeah.
and I'm honestly I didn't even swallow some of them. I mean,
Yeah.
they were terrible. So, but I can't wait to
Exactly.
visit and try y'all out. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have
now,
you.
now, what's your husband's name?
Kyle.
Kyle. So
Mhm.
outside of work, what does Shawnte and Kyle do for fun?
Well, like I said, we met through ballroom dancing, so we
Okay,
do still stay active in the Chattanooga ballroom dancing scene.
awesome.
And
I think I
I'm
would
also
enjoy that.
you probably it is a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely should give it a try. There's several different places that you can go to, but we're also both pretty big nerds. We like playing TTRPGs, tabletop role playing games.
Yeah.
We both enjoy playing chess, and
Okay.
we have a pet snake that we that we love dearly.
What kind of snake is it?
She is a Honduran
She.
milk snake, and it's
Okay.
albino as well. So she's very
Albino.
vibrant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah. A lot of people talk about somebody having a pet snake, and their first response are they crazy? But it's what you like, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
she
like
is
dogs. You
such
like
a good
snakes. I
pet.
mean, we're all good. So.
Yeah, yeah, she is great.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, Shawnte.
Yeah.
You obviously must be a little older than you look because you look very young. But when you mentioned that your husband, how long he's been here, you must.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this: in your life, have you endured any maybe what you might call life hardships or anything in your life that you could speak to us about just a moment that you've went through that you feel like now it's made you a stronger or better person, whether it's in business or personal life or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think everyone to some extent has had some sort of demons in their past that they've had to wrestle with. For me, mine is growing up in a very abusive home.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so sorry.
and kind of once I got off to college, just entering those adult years, having to discover life how it was meant to be, and
Yeah,
fending for myself, that definitely has caused me to be a stronger person and to be able to navigate relationships in I guess, from a stance of um, trying to be able to understand the perspective of the other person better. Um,
wow,
abs-
Shante, that's a mouthful because they say a lot of times when people go through those kind of hardships in life that a large percentage of them wind up repeating that when they become an adult,
yeah,
and so that's awesome that I heard the passion in your voice when you were talking about that you are trying to make sure that you are not one of those statistics, that you're
right,
trying to make sure and
exactly.
I applaud you for that because
Thank you.
it's a shame that anybody has to grow up in an abusive environment. It's a
Yeah,
shame,
yeah,
but it's what's wonderful is when people come through it and they look back and say, you know what, I refuse to be that person, and I'm going to make sure
exactly.
that I push forward. And there may be people. I don't know if you're involved in any associations maybe that help people, but that might be a good thing for you to look at is to be involved in helping kids that are coming
Yeah,
through that. Just something to think about. We all
exactly.
if somebody we all need help with something. We
Yeah,
all need help with something. That's for sure. So none of us have exactly right yet. Uh,
absolutely. And I've
you know, you
encountered
know,
some amazing people along the way too that
yeah.
have are there for me and have been there for me in the past. It definitely has not been on my own for sure.
I always like to ask this question, Shante, to every business owner. Uh, if there was one thing that you wish our listeners knew about Shawnté Michaels, and the Better Bakery. I'm talking about the heart of the business. If there was one thing that you wish people knew that they probably wouldn't know unless you shared it with them, and you like to say it today loud and proud, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say that if you have a goal in mind, and maybe this sounds a little bit cliche,
It's
um,
okay.
and and I've heard it many, many times in my life. If you have a goal in mind, the only thing stopping you is yourself. You should go for it. If it is the right time and you've put in the research and the work. I don't believe in like these dreamy things where like
Right.
everything will just perfectly fall into place for you. It will take a lot of work, but like the other day, I had a girl come into the bakery and she was saying, man, I wish that I could bake stuff and sell stuff. And look for the different laws around it, to do your research, and actually put effort into going for that goal. Because 10 years ago, I never would have thought that I owned a bakery. That was not even on my radar at all. And sometimes I have to stop and pinch myself and be like, this is actually a real thing. And yeah, and it's because I saw a goal and I went for it, and I strived to not be an island through it. So connecting with other small businesses along the way has been a huge factor in the growth of the Better Bakery.
Being a scientist, you're talking about research. That's a big part of what a scientist is and
Yes.
does, obviously, research. So you had some background help to help you with that, no doubt. But when
Yeah.
somebody doesn't have your background, Shawnté, can you give advice on the research part? I mean, I know every business, every goal in every business is a little different, but can you just give a background on maybe things people need to look at and know when they're doing research?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing is to find people who are already doing what you want to be doing. So if owning a bakery is your goal, connect with other small local bakery owners and talk with them. I'm sure most, if not all of them, will be more than happy to answer your questions and to sit down with you and walk you through the process that they went through. And that's just going to be the best place to start, just building those connections.
I think that's great advice. I spoke with a gentleman. He's a realtor, and he's been a realtor I think for 30 plus years in Chattanooga. He said his first two attempts at being a realtor he utterly failed,
Yeah.
and he said the third time what he learned from his first two attempts and what made him successful that third time is not to make himself an island,
Right.
to,
Yep.
to, to get with somebody that knows what they're doing and learn from them, let them teach them, come up under as an apprentice, you might say.
Yeah.
And he said he gave that one of the biggest reasons today that he's been successful. And
Exactly.
so what
Yeah.
you're saying, I think, rings true. Whether it's a bakery, whether it's a real estate business, whether it's marketing, whatever it is, just making sure that you're not an island.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep. And there's no such thing as competition. We're all in this together.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's something that's overlooked a lot today is competition,
Hmm.
because competition's healthy. It really is healthy for us all. Because if I was the only one that did what I did, iron sharpens iron. And so, if I was the only one that did what I did, I'd just become a dull knife after a while. I wouldn't try to do better. I wouldn't try to
Right.
improve or increase because there'd be no reason to.
Exactly.
So you're exactly right. But sure have enjoyed meeting you today, Shawnté.
You as well, Scott.
You've been a wealth of information. You prove one thing: a scientist can just do whatever they want to do. Right? They can be a baker. They can create what do you call that? Not insulin. I was going to say insulin. Not insulin. They can create like penicillin. They can create all kinds of things, right? But they can also provide gluten-free products to people out there who need that. And I think it's
Exactly.
wonderful what you're doing, Shawnté. Is
Thank
Kyle
you.
involved in the business with you?
It is mostly my baby.
Okay.
So he does help out. Like I'll send him on runs to go pick up berries, and
Yeah.
sometimes he'll watch the storefront for me. But he has his own full-time job as a teacher, so he stays busy himself.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, he's probably a good taste tester, right?
Definitely, absolutely. And I would not be where I am without him. He has definitely been my biggest supporter behind the scenes for sure.
Yeah, that would be my job. I'd want to be the taste tester. Absolutely. Well, Shawnté, I wanted you to take a moment, and I want you to tell everybody how to reach you, how to find you, whether it's online or offline, okay?
Yeah, so you can find us at thebetterbakery.com. Make sure to put the in front. Better Bakery is a different place entirely.
Okay, thebetterbakery.com.
Yep, thebetterbakery.com. And you can
Okay.
find us on social media at The Better Bakery Chattanooga.
Okay.
And our phone number is 423-463-1539. And you can find us on Google as well.
All right. Well, y'all heard it here. Shawnté Michaels, The Better Bakery. If you're looking for good pastries, go see her. But on top of that, if you're gluten-free, if you're vegan, she has products for you. And guess what? She can even make your cakes. Something you thought maybe you never have again, she can make you a cake that tastes good, has good texture. So this is exciting to know. Shawnté, we're so thank you once again for being on the podcast with us today.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to all the good neighbors of the greater Chattanooga region, after meeting Shawnté and learning more about The Better Bakery, that's important to put the "the" in there, The Better Bakery. After meeting her and learning more about the company, take a moment to consider what she has to offer. If you're not vegan, if you're don't have a need to be gluten-free or don't have the desire to be gluten-free, but you just want to eat better. Maybe you're concerned about your overall fitness, or you're trying to reach a certain goal, weight goal or fitness goal. Go by and try them out. Go by and check their products out. You just might be surprised. You think, oh no, that gluten stuff I tried before, that gluten-free stuff I tried before, that was terrible. Give her a try. You might be surprised. You might be her biggest customer from now on. So go by and try her out. And before any of this episode, I'd like to thank you all, the listeners, for taking time out of your busy day to visit with us at the Good Neighbor Podcast. And always remember to support the locally owned and or operated businesses in the greater Chattanooga area, from Cleveland to Dalton, from Jasper to Benton. You're all important to us. And this is Scott Howell with the Friends and Neighbors Group. Thank you for being with us today. Everyone, go out and make this day a remarkable day.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpcleveland.com. That's gnpcleveland.com or call 423-380-1984.